Hello, and welcome to Shakespeare 2020 LA. Shakespeare 2020 LA is the Los Angeles division of Shakespeare Project 2020, a worldwide challenge created by Ian Desher to read the entire Shakespeare canon in 2020. Shakespeare 2020 is comprised of Los Angeles local professional actors. Our reading today is All's Well That Ends Well, and our players are Jason Rennie, Christopher Carbo, Taylor Marr, Sasha Venn, Megan Wells, Ron Dorn, Chris Klein, Pamela Roylance, Emily Vassilos, Elizabeth Juvenal, Emily Redmond Hall, Kimberly Kehoe, and I'm Mary Carrick. All's Well That Ends Well was first published in the First Folio in 1623. It was written about 1598 to 1608. The play is considered another one of Shakespeare's problem plays, one that poses complex ethical dilemmas that require more than a typical simple solution. Bertram, a cad and a womanizer, is hardly worthy of the virtuous and intelligent Helen. Bertram's mother intervenes to keep Helen officially in the family and not just to be her ward, and all the women pitch in. All's Well is one of several plays in which Shakespeare may have collaborated with Thomas Middleton. It's been argued that Middleton had a hand in Timon of Athens, an adaptation and revision of Macbeth, and Measure for Measure, as well as All's Well That Ends Well. We see shades of this argument in characters named only for their occupations: soldier, lord, porter, and later in Timon of Athens, painter and poet. But these are no throwaway characters and some of the most comical and satisfying in the later plays. In these challenging times, sit back and relax, spend a few hours with us, and perhaps take solace in our friend Will Shakespeare's offering that all's well that ends well. William Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well.
Act 1, Scene 1. The Rossillion estate. Enter young Bertram, Count of Rossillion, the Countess, his mother, Helen, a ward of the Countess, and the Lord Lafeu.
In delivering my son from me, I bury a second husband.
And I, in going, madam, weep o'er my father's death anew. But I must attend his majesty's command, to whom I am now in ward, evermore in subjection.
You shall find the king a husband, madam, you, sir, a father. He that so generally is at times good must of necessity hold his virtue to you, whose worthiness would stir it up where it wanted rather than lack it where there is such abundance.
What hope is there of his majesty's amendment?
He hath abandoned his physicians, madam, under whose practices he hath persecuted time with hope, and finds no other advantage in the process, but only the losing of hope by time.
This young gentlewoman had a father. Oh, that had, how sad a passage 'tis, whose skill was almost as great as his honesty. Had it stretched so far, it would have made nature immortal, and death should have play for lack of work. Would, for the king's sake, he were living, I think it would be the death of the king's disease.
How called you the man you speak of, madam?
Oh, he was famous, sir, in his profession, and it was his great right to be so. Gerard du Narbonne.
He was excellent indeed, madam. The king very lately spoke of him admiringly and mourningly. He was skilful enough to have lived still, if knowledge could have been set up against mortality.
What is it, my good lord, the king languishes of?
Fistula, my lord.
I heard not of it before.
I would it were not notorious. Was this gentlewoman the daughter of Gironneval?
His sole child, my lord, and bequeathed to my overlooking. I have those hopes of her good that her education promises. Her dispositions she inherits, which makes fair gifts fairer. For where an unclean mind carries virtuous qualities, their commendations go with pity, and they are virtues and traitors too. In her, they are the better for their simpleness. She derives her honesty and achieves her goodness.
Your commendations, madam, get from her tears.
'Tis the best brine a maiden can season her praise in. The remembrance of her father never approaches her heart, but the tyranny of her sorrows takes all livelihood from her cheek. No, no more of this. Helena, go to, no more, lest it be rather thought you affect a sorrow than to have it.
I do affect a sorrow indeed, but I have it too.
Moderate lamentation is the right of the dead, excessive grief the enemy to the living.
If the living be enemy to the grief, the excess soon make it mortal.
Madam, I desire your holy wishes.
Understand we that?
Be thou blessed, Bertram, and succeed thy father in manners as in shape. Thy blood and virtue contend for empire in thee, and thy goodness share with thy birthright. Love all, trust a few, do wrong to none. Be able for thine enemy rather in power than in use, and keep thy friend under thy own life's key. Be checked for silence, but never taxed for speech. What heaven more will that thee may furnish, and my prayers pluck down, fall on thy head. Farewell, my lord, 'tis an unseasoned courtier. Good my lord, advise him.
He cannot want the best that shall attend his love.
Heaven bless him. Farewell, Bertram.
The best wishes that can be forged in your thoughts be servant to you. Be comfortable to my mother, your mistress, and make much of her.
Farewell, pretty lady. You must hold the credit of your father.
Were that all? I think not on my father, and these great tears grace his remembrance more than those I shed for him. What was he like? I have forgotten. My imagination carries no favor in it but Bertram's. I am undone. There is no living, none, if Bertram be away. 'Twas all one that I should love a bright particular star and think to wed it. He is so above me. In his bright radiance and collateral light must I be comforted, not in his sphere. The ambition in my love thus plagues itself. The hind that would be mated by the lion must die for love. 'Twas pretty, though a plague, to see him every hour, to sit and draw his arched brows, his hawking eyes, his curls, in our heart's table, heart too capable of every line and trick of his sweet face. But now he's gone. My idolatrous fancy must sanctify his relics. Who comes here? One that goes with him. I love him for his sake, and yet I know him a notorious liar. Think him a great fool, solely a coward. Yet these fixed evils sit so fit in him that they take the place of the virtue's steely bones. Looks bleak in the cold wind. Withal, full of oft, we see cold wisdom waiting a superfluous folly.
Save you, fair queen.
And you, monarch?
No.
And no.
Are you meditating on virginity?
Aye, that you have some stain of soldiers in you. Let me ask you a question. Man is enemy to virginity. How may we barricado it against him?
Keep him out.
But he assails, and our virginity, though valiant in the defense, yet is weak. Unfold to us some warlike resistance.
Oh, there is none. Man sitting down before you will undermine you and blow you up.
Bless our poor virginity from underminers and blower-ups. Is there no military policy how virgins might blow up men?
Virginity being blown down, man will quicklier be blown up. Mary, in blowing him down again with the breach yourselves made, you lose your city. It is not politic in the commonwealth of nature to preserve virginity. Loss of virginity is rational increase, and there was never a virgin got till virginity was lost. But you were made of is metal to make virgins. Virginity, by being once lost, may be 10 times found. By being ever kept, it is ever lost. 'Tis too cold a companion. Away with it!
I will stand for a little, therefore I die a virgin.
There's little can be said in it. 'Tis against the rule of nature. To speak on the part of virginity is to accuse your mothers, which is most infallible disobedience. He that hangs himself is a virgin. Virginity murders itself and should be buried in highways out of all sanctified limit as a desperate offendress against nature. Virginity breeds mites, much like a cheese, consumes itself to the very paring, and so dies with feeding his own stomach. Besides, virginity is peevish, proud, idle, made of self-love, which is the most inhibited sin in the canon. Keep it not. You cannot choose but lose bite. Out with it. Within 10 years, it will make itself 2, which is a goodly increase, and the principle itself is not much the worse. Away with it.
How might one do, sir, to lose it to her own liking?
Let me see. Marry ill, to like him that ne'er it likes. 'Tis a commodity will lose the gloss with lying. The longer kept, the less worth. Off with, while 'tis vendible. Answer the time of request. Virginity, like an old courtier, wears her cap out of fashion, richly suited, but unsuitable, just like the brooch and the toothpick, which were not now. Your date is better in your pie and your porridge than in your cheek, and your virginity, your old virginity, is like one of our French withered pears. It looks ill, it eats dryly. Marry, 'tis a withered pear. It was formerly better, marry, 'tis a withered pear. Will you anything with it?
Not my virginity yet. There shall your masters have 1,000 loves, a mother and a mistress and a friend, a phoenix, captain and an enemy, a guide, a goddess and a sovereign, a counselor, a traitress and a dear. His humble ambition, proud humility, his jarring concord and his discord dulcet, his faith, his sweet disaster, with a world of pretty fond adaptationist Christendoms that blinking Cupid gossips. Now shall he, I know not what he shall. God send him well. The court's a learning place and he is one.
What one, if a?
That I wish well, 'tis pity.
What's pity?
That wishing well had not, which might be felt that we, the poorer born, whose baser stars do shut us up in wishes, might with effects of them follow our friends and show what we alone must think, which never returns us thanks.
Monsieur Parolles, my lord calls for you.
Little Helen, farewell. If I can remember thee, I will think of thee at court.
Monsieur Perez, you were born under a charitable star.
Under Mars, aye.
I especially think under Mars.
Why under Mars?
The wars have so kept you under that you must needs be born under Mars.
When he was predominant.
When he was retrograde, I think rather.
Why think you so?
You got so much backwards when you fight.
Why, that's for advantage.
So is running away when fear proposes the safety, but the composition that your valor and fear makes in you is a virtue of a good wing, and I like the wear well.
I am so full of businesses I cannot answer thee acutely. I will return perfect courtier, in the which my instruction shall serve to naturalize thee, so thou wilt be capable of a courtier's counsel and understand what advice shall thrust upon thee, else thou diest in thine unthankfulness, and thine ignorance makes thee away. Farewell. When thou hast leisure, say thy prayers. When thou hast none, remember thy friends. Get thee a good husband, and use him as he uses thee. So, farewell.
Our remedies often ourselves do lie, when we ascribe to heaven. The fated sky gives us free scope, only doth backward pull our slow designs when we ourselves are dull. What power is it that mounts my love so high that makes me see and cannot feed mine eye? The mightiest space in fortune nature brings to join like likes and kiss like native things. Impossible be strange attempts to those that weigh their pains and sense and do suppose what hath been cannot be. Who ever strove to show her merit and did miss her love? The king's disease. My project may deceive me, but my intents are fixed and will not leave me.
Act 1, Scene 2. Paris, the king's palace. Enter the King of France, with 2 lords.
The Florentines and Senois are by the ears, have fought with equal fortune, and continue a braving war.
So 'tis reported, sir.
Nay, 'tis most credible. We here receive it a certainty vouched from our cousin Austria, with caution that the Florentine will move us for speedy aid, wherein our dearest friend prejudicates the business and would seem to have us make denial.
His love and wisdom approved so to your majesty may plead for amplest credence.
He hath armed our answer, and Florence is denied before he comes. Yet for our gentlemen that mean to see the Tuscan service, freely have they leave to stand on either part.
It may well serve a nursery to our gentry who are sick for breathing and exploit.
What's he comes here?
It is the Count Russillian, my good lord, young Bertram.
Youth, thou bearest thy father's face. Frank nature, rather curious than in haste, hath well composed thee. Thy father's moral parts mayest thou inherit too. Welcome to Paris.
My thanks and duty are your majesty's.
I would I had that corporal soundness now, as when thy father and myself in friendship first tried our soldiership. He did look far into the service of the time, and was discipled of the bravest. He lasted long, but on us both did haggish age steal on, and wore us out of act. It much repairs me to talk of your good father. In his youth he had the wit which I can well observe today in our young lords, but they may jest till their own scorn return to them unnoted, ere they can hide their levity and honor. So, like a courtier, contempt nor bitterness were in his pride or sharpness. If they were, his equal had awaked them, and his honor, clock to itself, knew the true minute when exception bid him speak. And at this time his tongue obeyed his hand. Who were below him he used as creatures of another place, and bowed his eminent top to their low ranks, making them proud of his humility. In their poor praise he humbled. Such a man might be a copy to these younger times, which, followed well, would demonstrate them now, but goers backward.
His good remembrance, sir, lies richer in your thoughts than on his tomb. So in a proof lives not his epitaph as in your royal speech.
Would I were with him. He would always say, methinks I hear him now, his plosive words, he scattered not in ears, but grafted them to grow there and to bear. Let me not live. This his good melancholy oft began on the catastrophe and heel of pastime, when it was out. Let me not live, quoth he, after my flame lacks oil, to be the snuff of younger spirits, whose apprehensive senses all but new things disdain, whose judgments are mere fathers of their garments, whose constancies expire before their fashions. This he wished. I, after him, do after him wish too. Since I nor wax nor honey can bring home, I quickly were dissolved from my hive to give some laborers room.
Your loved sir, they that least lend it shall lack you first.
I fill a place. I know it. How long is't, Count, since the physician your father's died? He was much famed.
Some 6 months since, my lord.
If he were living, I would try him yet. Lend me an arm. The rest have worn me out with several applications. Nature and sickness debate it at their leisure. Welcome, Count. My son's no dearer.
Thank your majesty.
Act 1, Scene 3. A courtyard in the Russillian estate. Enter Countess, Steward, and Fool.
I will now hear. What say you of this gentlewoman?
Madam, the care I have had to even your content, I wish might be found in the calendar of my past endeavors. For then we wound our modesty and make foul the clearness of our deservings, when of ourselves we publish them.
What does this knave here? Get you gone, sirrah. The complaints I have heard of you, I do not all believe. 'Tis my slowness that I do not, for I know you lack not folly to commit them, and have ability enough to make such knaveries yours.
Is not unknown to you, madam. I am a poor fellow.
Well, sir?
No, madam, 'tis not so well that I am poor, though many of the rich are damned. But if I may have your ladyship's goodwill to go to the world, Isabel the woman, and I will do as we may.
Wilt thou needs be a beggar?
I do beg your goodwill in this case.
In what case?
In Isabel's case and mine own. The service is no heritage, and I think I shall never have the blessing of God till I have issue of my body, for they say barons are blessings.
Tell me thy reason why thou wilt marry.
My poor body, madam, requires it. I am driven on by the flesh, and he must needs go that the devil drives.
Is this all your worship's reason?
Faith, madam, I have other holy reasons, such as they are.
May the world know them?
I have been, madam, a wicked creature, as you and all flesh and blood are, and indeed I do many, that I may repent.
Thy marriage sooner than thy wickedness.
I am out of friends, madam, and I hope to have friends for my wife's sake.
Such friends are thine enemies, knave.
You're shallow, madam, in great friends, for the knaves come to do that for me which I am aweary of. He that hears my land spares my team and gives me leave into the crop. If I be his cuckold, he's my dredge. He that comforts my wife is the cherisher of my flesh and blood. He that cherishes my flesh and blood loves my flesh and blood. He that loves my flesh and blood is my friend. Ergo, he that kisses my wife is my friend. If men could be contented to be what they are, there were no fear in marriage. For young Charbon the Puritan and old Poison the Papist, however some their hearts are severed in religion, their heads are both one. They may jowl horns together like any deer in the herd.
Wilt thou ever be a foul-mouthed and calumnious knave?
A prophet I, madam, and I speak the truth the next way. For I the ballad will repeat, which men full true shall find. Your marriage comes by destiny, your cuckoo sings in kind.
Get you gone, sir. I'll talk with you more anon.
May it please you, madam, that he bid Helen come to you. Of her I am to speak.
Sirrah, tell my gentlewoman I would speak with her. Helen, I mean.
Was this fair face the cause, quoth she, why the Grecians sacked Troy? Fond on fond, 'twas fair was she, was this King Priam's joy? With that she sighed as she stood, and gave the sentence then, among 9 bad if one be good, that's yet 1 good in 10. With that she sighed as she stood, and gave this sentence then, among 9 bad if one be good, that's yet 1 good in 10.
What? 1 good in 10? You corrupt the song, Sirrah.
1 good woman in 10, madam, which is a purifying of a song. Would God would serve the world so all the year. We'd find no fault with the tithe woman if I were the parson. 1 in 10, quoth he. We might have a good woman born, but oh, every blazing star at an earthquake 'twould mend the lottery well. A man may draw his heart out ere he pluck one.
You'll be gone, sir knave, and do as I command you.
That man should be at woman's command, and yet no hurt done. Though honesty be no Puritan, yet it will do no hurt. It will wear the surplice of humility over the black gown of a big heart. I am going, forsooth. The business is for Helen to come hither.
Well now,
I know, madam, you love your gentlewoman entirely.
faith I do. Her father bequeathed her to me, and she herself, without other advantage, may lawfully make title to as much love as she finds. There is more owing her than is paid, and more shall be paid her than she'll demand.
Madam, I was very late, more near her than I think she wished me. Alone she was, and could communicate to herself her own words to her own ears. She thought I dare vow for her, they touched not any stranger sense. Her matter was, she loved your son. Fortune, she said, was no goddess, that had put such difference betwixt their two estates. Love no god, that would not extend his might only where qualities were level. Diane, no queen of virgins, that would suffer her poor knight surprised without rescue in the first assault or ransom afterward. This she delivered in the most bitter touch of sorrow that e'er I heard virgin exclaiming, which I held my duty speedily to acquaint you withal. Sithens, in the loss that may happen, it concerns you something to know it.
You have discharged this honestly. Keep it to yourself. Many likelihoods informed me of this before, which hung so tottering in the balance that I could neither believe nor misdoubt. Pray you leave me. Stall this in your bosom, and I thank you for your honest care. I will speak with you further anon. Even so it was with me when I was young. If ever we are nature's, these are ours. This thorn doth to our rose of youth rightly belong. Our blood to us, this is our blood is born. It is the show and seal of nature's truth, where love's strong passion is impressed in youth. By our remembrances of days forgone, such were our faults, or then we thought them none. Her eye is sick on it. I'll observe her now.
What is your pleasure, madam?
You know, Helen, I am a mother to you.
Mine honorable mistress.
Nay, a mother. Why not a mother? When I said a mother, methought you saw a serpent. What's in mother that you start at it? I say I am your mother and put you in the catalogue of those that were in woman mind. 'Tis often seen adoption strives with nature and shows breeds a native slip to us from foreign seeds. You ne'er oppress me with a mother's groan, yet I express to you a mother's care. God's mercy, maiden, does it curdle thy blood to say that I am thy mother? What's the matter? That this distempered messenger of wet, the many-colored iris rounds thine eye. Why, that you are my daughter?
I am not.
I say I am your mother.
Pardon, madam. The Count Rosilin cannot be my brother. I am from humble, he from honored name. No note upon my parents, his all noble. My master, my dear lord he is, and I, his servant, live and will his vassal die. He must not be my brother.
Nor I your mother?
You are my mother, madam. Would you were, so that the Lord, my lord, your son, were not my brother, indeed my mother. Or were you both our mothers? I care no more for than I do for heaven. So I were not his sister, kent no other. But I, your daughter, must he be my brother?
Yes, Helen, you might be my daughter-in-law. God shield you, mean it not. Daughter and mother, so strive on your cause. What, pale again? My fear hath catched your fondness. Now I see the mystery of your loneliness and find your salt tears head. Now to all sense 'tis grows. You love my son. Invention is ashamed against the proclamation of thy passion to say thou dost not. Therefore tell me true, but tell me 'tis so. For look, thy cheeks confess it, the one to the other, and thine eyes see it so grossly shown in thy behaviors that in their kind they speak it. Only sin and hellish obstinacy tie thy tongue, that truth should be suspected. Speak, is it so? If it be so, you would have wound a goodly clue. If it be not, forswear it. However, I charge thee, as heaven shall work in me for thine avail, to tell me truly.
Good madam, pardon me.
Do you love my son?
Your pardon, noble mistress.
Love you my son?
Do not you love him, madam?
Go not about. My love hath in it a bond whereof the world takes note. Come, come, disclose the state of your affection, for your passions have to the full appeased.
Then I confess, here on my knees before high heaven and you, that before you and next unto high heaven, I love your son. My friends were poor but honest, so's my love. Be not offended, for it hurts not him that he is loved of me. I follow him not by any token of presumptuous suit, nor would I have him till I do deserve him, yet never know how that desert should be. I know I love in vain, strive against hope, yet in this captious and untenable sieve, I pour in the waters of my love and not lack not to lose still. Thus Indian-like, religious in mine error, I adore the son that looks upon his worshipper and knows of him no more. My dearest madam, let not your hate encounter with my love for loving what you do, but if yourself, whose aged honor cites a virtuous youth, did ever so in true a flame of liking, wish chastely and love dearly that your diet was both herself and love. Oh, then give pity to her whose state is such that cannot choose but lend and give where she is sure to lose, that seeks not to find where her search implies, but riddle-like lives sweetly where she dies.
Had you not lately an intent, speak truly, to go to Paris?
Madam, I had.
Wherefore? Tell true.
I will tell truth. By grace itself I swear. You know my father left me some prescriptions of rare and proved effects, such as his reading and manifest experience had collected for general sovereignty, and that he willed me in heedful's reservation to bestow them, as notes where facilities inclusive were more than they were in note. Amongst the rest, there is a remedy approved, set down, to cure the desperate languishings whereof the king is rendered lost.
This was your motive for Paris, was it? Speak.
My lord, your son, made me think of this. Else Paris and the medicine and the king had from the conversation of my thoughts happily been absent then.
But think you, Helen, if you should tender your supposed aid, would he receive it? He and his physicians are of a mind. He that they cannot help him, and they that they cannot help. How shall they credit a poor unlearned virgin when the schools emboweled of their doctrine have left off the danger to itself?
There's something in it, more than my father's skill, which was the greatest of his profession, that in his good receipt shall for my legacy be sanctified by the luckiest stars in heaven, and would your honor but give me leave to try success, I'd venture the well-lost life of mine of his grace cure by such a day, an hour.
Dost thou believe it?
Aye, madam, knowingly.
Why, Helen, thou shalt have my leave and love, means and attendance, and my loving greetings to those of mine in court. I'll stay at home and pray God's blessings into thy attempt. Be gone tomorrow, and be sure of this, what I can help thee to, thou shalt not miss.
Act 2, Scene 1. Paris, a hall in the king's palace. Enter the king, with lords, taking leave for the Florentine War, Count Bertram and Parolles.
Farewell, young lords. These warlike principles do not throw from you. And you, my lords, farewell. Share the advice betwixt you. If both gain all, the gift doth stretch itself as 'tis received, as is enough for both.
With our hope, sir, after well-entered soldiers, to return and find your grace in health.
No, no, it cannot be. And yet my heart will not confess he owes the malady that doth my life besiege. Farewell, young lords. Whether I live or die, be you the sons of worthy Frenchmen. Let higher Italy, those baited that inherit but the fall of the last monarchy, see that you come not to woo honor, but to wed it. When the bravest questant shrinks, find what you seek, that fame may cry you loud. I say farewell.
Health at your bidding, serve your majesty.
Those girls of Italy, take heed of them. They say our French lack language to deny if they demand. Beware of being captives before you serve.
Our hearts receive your warnings.
Farewell. Come hither to me.
Ah, my sweet lord, that you will stay behind us.
Well, 'tis not his fault, the spark.
Oh, 'tis brave wars.
Most admirable. I have seen those wars.
I'm commanded here and kept a coil with too young, and the next year, and 'tis too early.
I and thy mind stand to, boy. Steal away bravely.
I shall stay here the 4-horse to a smock, creaking my shoes on the plain masonry till honor be brought up, and no sword worn but one to dance with. By heaven, I'll steal away.
There's honor in the theft.
Committed, Count.
I am your accessory, and so farewell.
I grow to you, and our parting is a tortured body.
Farewell, Captain.
Sweet Monsieur Parolles.
Noble heroes, my sword and yours are kin. Good sparks and lustrous, a word, good medals. You shall find in the regiment of the Spinii one Captain Spurio, with his cicatrice, an emblem of war, here on his sinister cheek. Use this very sword entrenched it. Say to him, I live, and observe his reports for me.
You shall, noble captain.
Mars dote on you for his novices. What will you do?
Stay the king.
Use a more spacious ceremony to the noble lords. You have restrained yourself within the list of too cold an adieu. Be more expressive to them, for they wear themselves in the cap of the time. There do muster true gait, eat, speak, and move under the influence of the most received star, and, though the devil lead the measure, such are to be followed. After them, and take a more dilated farewell.
And I will do so.
Worthy fellows, I'd like to prove most sinewy swordsmen.
Pardon, my lord, for me and for my tidings.
I'll fee thee to stand up.
Then here's a man stands, that has brought his pardon. I'd you had kneeled, my lord, to ask me mercy, and that, at my bidding, you could so stand up.
I would I had. So I had broke thy pate and asked thee mercy for't.
Good faith, the cross. But, my good lord, 'tis thus. Will you be cured of your infirmity?
No.
Will you eat no grapes, my royal fox? Yes, but you will, my noble grapes, and if my royal fox could reach 'em. I have seen a medicine that's able to breathe life into a stone, quicken a rock, and make you dance canary with sprightly fire and motion, whose simple touch is powerful to erase King Pippin, nay, to give great Charlemagne a pen's hand, and write to her a love line.
What her is this?
Why, doctor, she... my lord, there's one arrived, if you will see her. Now, by my faith and honor, if seriously I may convey my thoughts in this my light deliverance, I have spoke with one that in her sex, her years, profession, wisdom, and constancy hath mazed me more than I dare blame my weakness. Will you see her, for that is her demand, and know her business? That done, laugh well at me.
Now, good Lefew, bring in the admiration that we with thee may spend our wonder too, or take off thine by wondering how thou took'st it.
And they all fit you, and not be all day neither.
Thus he his special nothing ever prologues.
Nay, come your ways.
This haste hath wings indeed.
Nay, come your ways. This is his majesty. Say your mind to him. A traitor you do look like, but such traitors his majesty never seldom fears. I'm Cressid uncle, that dares leave two together. Fare you out.
Now, fair one, does your business follow us?
Aye, my good lord. Jared de Narbon was my father, and what he did profess well found.
I knew him.
The rather will I spare my praises towards him, knowing him is enough. On's bed of death many receipts did he give me, chiefly one which, as the dearest issue of his practice, and of his old experience the only darling, he bade me store up as a third eye, safer than mine own two, more dear. I have so, and hearing your high majesty is touched with this malignant cause, wherein the honor of my dear father's gift stands chiefly in power, I come to render it my appliance with all bound humbleness.
We thank you, maiden, but may not be so credulous of cure, when our most learned doctors leave us, and the congregated college have concluded that laboring art can never ransom nature from her inaidable estate. I say we must not so stain our judgment or corrupt our hope to prostitute our past cure malady to empirics, or to dissever so our great self and our credit to esteem a senseless help, when help past sense we deem.
My duty then shall pay me for my pains. I will no more enforce mine office on you, humbly entreating from your royal thoughts a modest one to bear me back again.
I cannot give thee less to be called grateful. Thou thought'st to help me, and such thanks I give as one near death to those that wish him live. But what at full I know, thou know'st no part. I knowing all my peril, thou no art.
What I can do no harm to try, since you are set against your arrest, against remedy. He that of greatest works is finisher, oft does by the weaker minister. So holy writ is the babes hath judgment shown when judges have been babes. Great floods have flown from simple sources, and great seas have dried when miracles have by the greatest been denied. Oft exceptions fail, and oft there where most is promise, and oft it hits where hope is coldest, and despair most shifts.
I must not hear thee. Fare thee well, kind maid. Thy pains not used must by thyself be paid. Proffers not took reap thanks for their reward.
Fired merit so by breath is barred. It is not so with him that all things know, as 'tis with that swear by guests by shows. But most is presumpting in us when, the help of heaven, we count the act of men. Dear sir, to my endeavors give consent. Of heaven, not me, make an experiment. I'm not an impostor that proclaim myself against the level of mine aim. But no, I think, and think I know most sure, my art is not past power, nor you past cure.
Art thou so confident? Within what space hopest thou my cure?
The greatest grace, lending grace, ere twice the horses of the sun shall bring their fiery torches in Duran ring. Ere twice in murk and occidental damp, moist Hesperus hath quenched her sleep lamp. Of 420 times the pilot's glass hath told the thievish minutes how they pass, that is infirm from your sounds parts shall fly, health shall live free, and sickness freely die.
Upon thy certainty and confidence, what darest thou venture?
Acts of impudence, a strumpet's boldness, a divulged shame, prudence by Odious' ballads, my maiden's name, seared otherwise. Nay, worst of worst, extended with the vilest torture, let my life be ended.
Methinks in thee some blessed spirit doth speak his powerful sound with an organ weak. And what impossibility would slay in common sense, sense saves another way. Thy life is dear, for all that life can rate worth name of life in thee hath estimate. Youth, beauty, wisdom, courage, all that happiness and prime can happy call. Thou this to hazard needs must intimate skill infinite or monstrous desperate. Sweet practicer, thy physic I will try, that ministers thine own death if I die.
If I break time or flinch in property of what I spoke, unpitied, let me die, and well deserved. Not helping, death's my fee. But if I help, what do you promise me?
Make thy demand.
But will you make it even?
Aye, by my scepter and my hopes of heaven.
Thou shalt give me with thy kingly hand what husband in thy power I will command. Accepted me from the arrogance to choose from forth the royal blood of France, my low and humble name to propagate with any branch or image of thy state. With such a one, thy vassal whom I know is free for me to ask, thee to bestow.
Here is my hand. The premises observed, thy will by my performance shall be served. So make the choice of thine own time, for I, thy resolved patient, on thee still rely. More should I question thee, and more I must, though more to know could not be more to trust. From whence thou camest, how tended on, but rest unquestioned welcome and undoubted blessed. Give me some help here, ho! If thou proceed as high as word, my deed shall match thy deed.
Act 2, Scene 2. The Brazilian estate. Enter Countess and Fool.
Come on, sir. I shall now put you to the height of your breeding.
I will show myself highly fed and lowly taught. I know my business is but to the court.
To the court? Why, what place make you special when you put off that with such contempt? But to the court.
Truly, madam, if God had lent a man any manners, he may easily put it off at court. He that cannot make a leg, put off his cap, kiss his hand, and say nothing, has neither leg, hands, lip, nor cap, and indeed such a fellow, to say precisely, were not for the court. But for me, I have an answer will serve all men.
Mary, that's a bountiful answer that fits all questions.
It is like a barber's chair that fits all buttocks. The pin buttock, the quatch buttock, the brawn buttock, or any buttock.
Will your answer serve to fit all questions?
As fit as 10 groats is for the hand of an attorney, as your French crown for your taffety punk, as Tibbs rush for Tom's forefinger, as a pancake for Shrove Tuesday, a Morris for May Day, as a nail to his hall, a cuckold to his horn, as a scolding queen to a wrangling knave, as the nun's lip to the friar's mouth. Nay, as the pudding to his skin.
Have you, I say, an answer of such fitness for all questions?
From below your duke to beneath your constable, it will fit any question.
Well, it must be an answer of most monstrous size that fits all demands.
But a trifle neither, in good faith, if the learned should speak truth of it. Here it is, and all that belongs to it. Ask me if I'm a courtier. It shall do you no harm to learn.
To be young again, if we could. I will be a fool in question, hoping to be the wiser by your answer. I pray you, sir, are you a courtier?
Oh, Lord, sir! There's a simple putting off. More, 100 of them.
Sir, I am a poor friend of yours that loves you.
Oh, Lord, sir! Thick, thick, spare not me.
I think, sir, you can eat none of this homely meat.
Oh, Lord, sir! Nay, put me to it, I warrant you.
You were lately whipped, sir, as I think.
Oh, Lord, sir! Spare not me.
Do you cry, "Oh Lord, sir," at your whipping, and spare not me? Indeed, your "Oh Lord, sir" is sequent to your whipping. I mean, you would answer very well to a whipping if you were but bound to it.
I ne'er had worse luck in my life, in my oh Lord, sir. I see things may serve long, but not serve ever.
I played a noble housewife with the time to entertain so merrily a fool.
Oh, Lord, sir. That serves well again.
An end, sir, to your business. Give Helen this, and urge her to present answer back. Commend me to thy kinsman and my son. This is not much.
Not much commendation to them?
Not much employment for you. You understand me.
Most fruitfully, I am there before my legs.
Haste you again.
Act 2, Scene 3. Paris, the King's Court. Enter Count Bertram, Lafeu, and Parolles. They say miracles are past, and we have our philosophical persons to make modern and familiar things supernatural and causeless. Hence is it that we make trifles of terrors, ensconcing ourselves into seeming knowledge when we should submit ourselves to an unknown fear.
Why, 'tis the rarest argument of wonder that hath shot out in our latter times.
And so 'tis.
Be relinquished of the artists?
So I say, both of Galen and Paracelsus.
Of all the learned and authentic fellows.
Right, so I say.
That gave him out incurable.
Why, there 'tis, so say I too.
Not to be helped.
Right, as 'twere a man assured of,
uncertain life and sure death.
Just, you say well, so what I have said.
I may truly say it is a novelty unto the world.
It is indeed. If you will have it in showing, you shall read it in what do you call their,
A showing of a heavenly effect in an earthly actor.
That's it. I would have said the very same.
Why, your Dauphin is not lustier. For me, I speak in respect.
No, nay, 'tis strange, 'tis very strange. This is the brief and the tedious of it. And he's of a most fascinorous spirit that will not acknowledge it to be
the very hand of heaven.
Aye, so I say.
In a most weak
and debile minister, great power, great transcendence, which should indeed give us a further use to be made than alone the recovery of the king as to be
generally thankful.
I would have said it. You say well. Here comes the king.
Ooh, lustig, as the Dutchman says. How like a maid, the better whilst I have a tooth in my head. Why, he's able to lead her a Coranto.
Mort du vinaigre, is not this Helen?
For God, I think so.
Go, call before me all the lords in court. Sit, my preserver, by thy patient side, and with this healthful hand, whose banished sense thou hast repealed, a second time receive the confirmation of my promised gift, which but attends thy naming. Fair maid, send forth thine eye. This useful parcel of noble bachelors stand at my bestowing, o'er whom both sovereign power and father's voice I have to use. Thy frank election make. Thou hast power to choose, and they none to forsake.
Each of you one fair and virtuous mistress, fall when love please, marry to each but one.
A curtle in his furniture, my mouth no more were broken than these boys, and writ his little beard.
Peruse them well. Not one of those but had a noble father.
Gentlemen, heaven hath through me restored the king to health.
We understand it and thank heaven for you.
I'm a simple maid, and therein wealthiest that I protest I simply am a maid. Please it your majesty, I have done already. Blushes in my cheek thus whisper me, blush that thou shouldst choose but be refused. Let the white death sit on my cheek forever, will ne'er come there again.
Make choice and see. Who shuns thy love, shuns all his love in me.
Nadian, from thy altar I do fly, and to imperial love, the God most high, do my sighs stream. Sir, will you hear my suit?
And grant it.
Thanks, sir. All the rest is mute.
Oh, I'd rather be in this choice than throw Amzace for my life.
The honor, sir, that flames in your fair eyes before I speak, too threateningly replies. Love make your fortune 20 times above her that so wishes, and her humble love.
No better, if you please.
My wish receive, which great love grant, and so I take my leave.
Do they all deny her? And they were sons of mine, I'd have them whipped, or I would send her to the Turk to make eunuchs of.
Be not afraid that I your hand should take. I'll never do you wrong, for your own sake. Blessing upon your vows, and in your bed, find fair fortune if you ever wed.
These boys are boys of ice. Though none have her. Sure they are bastards to the English. The French ne'er got 'em.
You are too young, too happy, and too good to make yourself a son out of my blood.
Fair one, I think not so.
Oh, there's one grape yet. I'm sure thy father drunk wine, but if thou be'st not an ass, I am a youth of 14. I've known thee already.
I dare not say I take you. But I give me in my service ever whilst I live into your guiding power. This is the man.
Why then, young Bertram, take her. She's thy wife.
My wife, my liege? I shall beseech your highness in such a business. Give me leave to use the help of mine own eyes.
Knowest thou not, Bertram, what she has done for me?
Yes, my good lord, but never hoped to know why I should marry her.
Well, thou knowest she has raised me from my sickly bed.
But follows it, my lord, to bring me down must answer for your raising? I know her well. She had breeding at my father's charge. A poor physician's daughter, my wife. Disdain rather corrupt me ever.
'Tis only title thou disdain'st in her, the which I can build up. Strange is it that our bloods of colour, weight, and heat poured all together would quite confound distinction, yet stands off in differences so mighty. If she be all that is virtuous, save what thou dislikest, a poor physician's daughter, thou dislikest of virtue for the name, but do not so. From lowest place whence virtuous things proceed, the place is dignified by the doer's deed. Where great additions swelled, and virtue none, it is a dropseed honor. Good alone is good, without a name. Vileness is so. The property by what it is should go, not by the title. She is young, wise, fair. In these to nature she's immediate heir, and these breed honor. That is honor's scorn, which challenges itself as honor's born, and is not like the sire. Honors thrive when rather from our acts we them derive than our foregoers. The mere word's a slave debauched on every tomb, on every grave a lying trophy, and as oft is dumb where dust and damned oblivion is the tomb of honored bones indeed. What should be said? If thou canst like this creature as a maid, I can create the rest. Virtue, and she, is her own dower. Honor and wealth from me.
I cannot love her, nor will strive to do it.
Thou wrong'st thyself if thou shouldst strive to choose.
You are well restored, my lord. I'm glad. Let the rest go.
My honor's at the stake, which to defeat I must produce my power. Here, take her hand, proud, scornful boy, unworthy this good gift, that dost in vile misprision shackle up my love and her desert. That canst not dream we, poising us in her defective scale, shall weigh thee to the beam. That wilt not know it is in us to plant thine honor where we please to have it grow. Check thy contempt. Obey our will, which travails in thy good. Believe not thy disdain, but presently do thine own fortunes that obedient right which both thy duty owes and our power claims, or I will throw thee from my care forever into the staggers and the careless lapse of youth and ignorance, both my revenge and hate loosing upon thee in the name of justice without all terms of pity. Speak thine answer.
Pardon, my gracious lord, for I submit my fancy to your eyes. When I consider what great creation and what dole of honor flies where you bid it, I find that she, which late was in my nobler thoughts most base, is now the praised of the king, who so ennobled is as 'twere born so.
Take her by the hand, and tell her she is thine, to whom I promise a counterpoise, if not to thy estate, a balance more replete.
I take her hand.
Good fortune, and the favour of the king smile upon this contract, whose ceremony shall seem expedient on the now-born brief, and be performed tonight. The solemn feast shall more attend upon the coming space, expecting absent friends. As thou lovest her, thy love's to me religious, else does err.
Do you hear, monsieur? A word with you.
Your pleasure, sir.
Your lord and master did well to make his recantation.
Recantation? My lord? My master?
Aye. Is it not a language I speak?
A most harsh one, and not to be understood without bloody succeeding. My master?
Are you companion to the Count Vasily?
Well, to any count. To all counts. To what is man?
To what is Count's man. Count's master is another style.
You are too old, sir. Let it satisfy you. You are too old.
Oh, well, I must tell thee, sirrah, I write man, to which title age cannot bring thee.
What I dare too well do, I dare not do.
I did think thee for two ordinaries to be a pretty wise fellow. Thou didst make tolerable vent of thy travel. It might pass. Yet the scarves and the bannerets about thee did manifoldly dissuade me from believing thee a vessel of too great a burden. I've now found thee. When I lose thee again, I care not. Yet art thou good for nothing but taking up, and that thou'rt scarce worth.
Hadst thou not the privilege of antiquity upon thee?
Oh, do not plunge thyself too far in anger, lest thou hasten thy trial, which if, Lord have mercy on thee for a hen. So, my good window of lattice, fare thee well. Thy casement I need not open, for I look through thee. Give me thy hand.
My lord, you give me most egregious indignity.
Aye, with all my heart, and thou art worthy of it.
I have not, my lord, deserved it.
Yes, good faith, every dram of it, and I will not bate thee a scruple.
Well, I shall be wiser.
E'en as thou canst, for thou hast to pull a smack at the contrary. If ever thou be'st bound in thy scarf and beaten, thou shalt find what it is to be proud of thy bondage. I have a desire to hold my acquaintance with thee, or rather my knowledge, that I may say in the default, he is a man I know.
My lord, you do me most insupportable vexation.
I would it were hell pains for thy sake, and my poor doings eternal. For doing I am past, as I will by thee in motion age will give me leave.
Well, Thou hast a son shall take this disgrace off me, scurvy, old, filthy, scurvy lord! Well, I must be patient. There is no fettering of authority. I'll beat him by my life if I can meet him with any convenience, and he will double and double a lord. I'll have no more pity of his age than I would have of... I'll beat him, and if I could but meet him again...
Sarah, your lord and master's married. There's news for you. You have a new mistress.
I most unfeignedly beseech your lordship to make some reservation of your wrongs. He is my good lord, whom I serve above is my master.
Who? God?
Aye, sir.
Oh, the devil it is that's thy master. Why dost thou garter up thy arms in such a fashion? Dost thou make hose of thy sleeves? Other servants so? Thou were best set thy lower part where thy nose stands. By my honor, if I were but 2 hours younger, I'd beat thee. Methinks thou art a general offense, and every man should beat thee. I think thou was created for men to breathe themselves upon thee.
This is hard and undeserved measure, my lord.
Go to, sir. You were beaten in Italy for picking a kernel out of a pomegranate. You are a vagabond, no true traveler. You are more saucy with lords and honorable personages than the commission of your birth and virtue gives you heraldry. You are not worth another word. Else, I'd call you knave. I leave you.
Good. Very good. It is so, then. Good. Very good. Let it be concealed a while.
Undone and forfeited to cares forever.
Oh, what's the matter, sweetheart?
Although before the solemn priest I have sworn, I will not bed her.
What? What, sweetheart?
Oh, my Parolles, they have married me. I'll to the Tuscan wars and never bed her.
France is a dog hole, and it no more merits the tread of a man's foot. To the wars!
There's letters from my mother. What the import is, I know not yet.
Aye, that would be known. To the wars, my boy, to the wars! He wears his honor in a box unseen that hugs his kicky-wicky here at home, spending his manly marrow in her arms, which should sustain the bound and high curvet of Mars' fiery steed. To other regions! France is a stable, we that dwell in jades, therefore, to the war.
It shall be so. I'll send her to my house, acquaint my mother with my hate to her, and wherefore I am fled, write to the king that which I durst not speak. His present gift shall furnish me to the Italian fields, where noble fellows strike. Wars is no strife to the dark house and the detested wife.
Will this capriccio hold in thee? Art sure?
Go with me to my chamber and advise me. I'll send her straight away. Tomorrow, I'll to the wars, she to a single sorrow.
Why, these balls bound, there's noise in it. 'Tis hard. A young man married is a man that's marred. Therefore away, and leave her bravely. Go. The king has done you wrong, but hush. 'Tis so.
Act 2, Scene 4. Helen's lodging at the king's court. Enter Helen and Fool.
My mother greets me kindly. Is she well?
She is not well, but yet she has her health. She's very merry, but yet she is not well. But thanks be given, she's very well and wants nothing in the world. But yet she is not well.
If she be very well, what does she ail that she's not very well?
Truly, she's very well indeed, but for 2 things.
What 2 things?
One, that she's not in heaven, whither God sent her quickly. The other, that she's in earth, from whence God sent her quickly.
Bless you, my fortunate lady.
I hope, sir, I have your good will to have mine own good fortunes.
You had my prayers to lead them on, and to keep them on have them still. Oh, my knave, how does my old lady?
So that you had her wrinkles and I her money, I would she did as you say.
Why, I say nothing.
Oh, Mary, you are the wiser man, for many a man's tongue shakes out his master's undoing. To say nothing, to do nothing, to know nothing, and to have nothing, is to be a great part of your title, which is within a very little of nothing.
Away, thou art a knave.
You should have said, sir, before a knave, thou art a knave. That's before me, thou art a knave. This had been truth, sir.
Go to, thou art a witty fool. I have found thee.
Did you find me in yourself, sir? Or were you taught to find me? The search, sir, was profitable, and much fool may you find in you, even to the world's pleasure and the increase of laughter.
A good knave, faith, and well fed. Madam, my lord will go away tonight. Very serious business calls on him. The great prerogative and right of love, which, as your due time claims, he does acknowledge, and puts it off to a compelled restraint, whose want and whose delay is strewed with sweets, which they distill now in the curbed time to make the coming hour overflow with joy and pleasure drown the brim.
What's his will else?
If you will take your instant leave of the king and make this haste as your own good proceeding, strengthened with what apology you think may make it probable need.
What more commands he?
That, having this obtained, you presently attend his further pleasure.
In everything I wait upon his will.
I shall report it so.
I pray you, come, sir.
Act 2, Scene 5. Bertram's lodging at the king's court. Enter Lafeu and Bertram. But I hope your lordship thinks him not a soldier.
Oh, yes, my lord, and a very valiant of proof.
You have it from his own deliverance.
And by other warranted testimony.
Then my dial goes not true. I took this lark for a bunting.
I do assure you, my lord, he is very great in knowledge and accordingly valiant.
I have then sinned against his experience and transgressed against his valor. And my state that way is dangerous, since I cannot yet find in my heart to repent. Here he comes. I pray you make us friends. I will pursue the amity.
These things shall be done, sir.
Pray you, sir, who's his tailor?
Sir?
Oh, I know him very well. I sir, he, sir, a good workman, a very good tailor.
Is she gone to the king?
She is.
Will she away tonight?
As you'll have her.
I have writ my letters, casketed my treasure, given order for our horses, and tonight, when I should take possession of the bride, end ere I do begin.
A good traveler is something at the latter end of a dinner, but one that lies 3/3 and uses a known truth to pass 1,000 nothings with should be once heard and thrice beaten. God save you, Captain.
Is there any unkindness between my lord and you, monsieur?
I know not how I have deserved to run into my lord's displeasure.
You have made shift to run into it, boots and spurs and alls, like him that leapt into the custard, and out of it you'll run again, rather than suffer question for your residence.
It may be you who have mistaken him, my lord.
And shall do so ever, though I took him at his prayers. Oh, fare you well, my lord, and believe this of me, there can be no kernel in this light nut. Soul of this man is in his clothes. Trust him not in matter of heavy consequence. I have kept of them, tame, know their natures. Farewell, monsieur. I have spoken better of you than you have or will to deserve at my hand. But we must do good against evil.
An idle lord, I swear.
I think not so.
Why, do you not know him?
Yes, I do know him well, and common speech gives him a worthy pass. Here comes my clog.
I have, sir, as I was commanded from you, spoke with the king and have procured his leave for parting present. Only he desires some private speech with you.
I shall obey his will. You must not marvel, Helen, at my course, which holds not color with the time, nor does the ministration and required office on my particular. Prepared I was not for such a business, therefore I am found so much unsettled. This drives me to entreat you that presently you take your way for home, and rather muse than ask why I entreat you, For my respects are better than they seem, and my appointments have in them a need greater than shows itself at the first view, to you that know them not. This to my mother. 'Twill be 2 days ere I see you, so I leave you to your wisdom.
Sir, I can nothing say, but I am for your most obedient servant.
Come, no more of that.
And ever shall with true obedience seek to eke out that wherein toward me my homely stars have failed to equal my great fortune.
Let that go. My haste is very great. Farewell, hie home.
Pray, sir, your pardon.
Well, what would you say?
I'm not worthy of the wealth I owe, nor dare I say 'tis mine, and yet it is. But like a timorous thief, most fain would steal what law does vouch mine own.
What would you have?
Something, and scarce so much, nothing indeed. I would not tell you what I would, my lord, faith, yes. Strangers and foes do sunder and not kiss.
I pray you stay not, but in haste to horse.
I shall not break my biting, good my lord. Where are my other men? Monsieur, farewell.
Go thou toward home, where I will never come, whilst I can shake my sword or hear the drum. Away and for our flight.
Bravely, Coragio!